Smoak on 365 Sports. If you took just a bunch of different people who cover the Big 12, whatever they cover, an individual school, let's say it's Iowa State or whoever, how many of, let's say, 30 to 50 writers or columnists or whoever, how many of them do you think will have someone other than Utah as their favorite to win the Big 12, at least at this particular time?
A few. I mean, I don't have Utah as my favorite. I'm picking Kansas State personally, or Kansas. I'm sorry, Kansas right now. So I'm banking big on Jalen Daniels' health. So I think Utah will be in the mix. But yeah, I'm not picking them right now. I got to see Cam Rising play.
Okay, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable to see Cam Rising play. I think it's, if he wasn't available by the start of this season, then he probably needs to retire from football because, man, you're talking about one long recovery. But, yeah, I think I have not yet made my determination because it's May 9th. So I haven't even decided on what ballot I'm going to put out there in a couple of months when we actually do that. But I would say, out of 10, probably 7 or 8 have Utah as the favorite, I would think. 7 is what I would settle in on. I think they're just the obvious choice, even though I think a lot of that has been just national guys of late I've seen coming across talking about Utah, and so I know there's been a lot of, discussion around them. But, yeah, Kansas State, Kansas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. There's a variety of other teams that could be the choice that I wouldn't blame somebody for picking. So, yeah, I think they're probably the favorite, but I don't think it's overwhelming necessarily.
Garrett? Would you have Utah, or would you have K-State, KU? Who would you have? Oklahoma State, who?
I mean, I think right now it would either be between Utah, Kansas State, or UCF. I think UCF's poised to have a breakout season, honestly. If they got the depth, because they've done a good job through the portal establishing, I think Gus and them are poised for a breakout season.
All right. I would say that I think I would go with Kansas State slightly ahead of a Utah or KU at the very top, at least for now. We're going to get a little bit later on to Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, and his top 25, as again, some of those do pop up today. And also over the next several weeks, there's just going to be a dime a dozen. So Alton McCaskill, former Houston running back, went to Colorado. He's made a decision. It's Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham picking up the running back who was at Houston, had a really good start to his career, went to Colorado, didn't get much time, transferred. He ends up in Tempe, Arizona.
I think he's run up with a fantastic coach in Kenny Dillingham, and one that needs a playmaker at running back. And if they were looking for a place where he was going to be running back one, no question, that's certainly a place that you would seem fits the bill. Arizona State, of all the teams in the Big 12, probably comes in with the most questions because the one we thought they had answered was Jaden Rashada. Well, he's at Georgia now. And so Sam Leavitt, likely the quarterback there for the long haul at Arizona State for the 2024 season. And then they've got to fill in some other things. I mean, they lost a receiver, Elijah Badger, who's to the transfer portal, who's highly thought of, but they've had some guys come in. So we'll see what happens there at ASU and what Kenny Dillingham year 2 at ASU and year 1 of the Big 12 looks like.
Yeah, I'll have to disagree with you, Paul, on one major thing that you just said there. I don't think he's guaranteed the number 1 running back spot. They got Cameron Scatabo, who is their number 1 running back, and that's going to be their number 1 running back. But I do love the pickup for Arizona State. I think that the fact that he doesn't have to come in and be the man, but that he's got the skills to be the man. He's a guy who can play off of not only Scatabo, but their other running backs. They have a deep room now, and I think that's going to make for an excellent combination because if McCaskill's not, still able to be the guy he was a couple years ago at Houston for whatever reason that might be, then it's not all on his shoulders. But if he can be, then holy cow, with him and Scatabo and the others in that room, Kenny Dillingham's really got some pop back there. So I don't think they necessarily needed him, but it's a luxury to have him, especially if he can be what he was at Houston prior to the injury. I know that if is carrying a lot of weight there, but he's had a long time now to get right. Colorado, I thought he was going to be able to make more of a splash there, and it didn't work out for any number of reasons. But I think this is an excellent pickup for the Sun Devils. I think it's an excellent decision by Alton McCaskill. I don't know what his other options were exactly, but I'm glad that he's going to be in the Big 12. If if you listen a couple years back, I hated when he left Houston because I loved what he was doing there. And it was early on in the portal, and it was just kind of like, why is he going to Colorado? He just rehabbed, and he goes to Colorado after going through an entire spring, and it just felt kind of weird. And then last year does nothing really for the Buffaloes. So hopefully he can get his groove back is what I'm getting at, and be that guy we saw a couple years ago. And if so, man, that's a dynamic running back room. And Scatabo, for those that don't know, is going to be one of the more fun players to watch in the entire conference this year. So, remember that name if you weren't paying attention last year to Arizona State. And, yeah, I think that's a really good get. And
a hidden Hawaiian. He should have stayed at Houston, but obviously had the lure of Colorado. They had Dylan Edwards. McCaskill didn't get much play. And then, of course, now Ohio State's running back Hayden now is in Boulder.
Running backs in general didn't get much play in Boulder.
Right.
I mean, Dylan Edwards got some, but we talk about him. I hear him mentioned like he was a 1,000-yard back or something, and that was not the case at all. So Shedeur was that offense. Shedeur throwing it around was 90% of that offense. But, yeah, he should have probably stayed at Houston, hindsight being 2020, but then again, that was Holgorsen. That was a lifetime ago at this point. But, yeah, he would have been great with the Cougs.
We are now joined by UCF